Alright, so 21, another one where they want you to find a polynomial function given the zeros. So one of them is 0, the other one's radical 5, and the other one's negative radical 5. So I'm going to go ahead and multiply the two binomials together. So that's going to give me x squared negative radical 5x, or rather positive radical 5x, and then minus radical 5x, and then minus 5. So these two are gone, and so you're left with x cubed minus 5x, and that's a polynomial for number 21. Okay, so 22 is another end behavior. So you identify your leading term. In this case, it's negative 5x to the fourth, because 4 is the largest degree in the polynomial. So this is a negative a with an even degree. So this is a down, down. Okay, so down, down. So you say as x goes to infinity, f of x goes to negative infinity, and as x gets smaller, or negative infinity, f of x still goes down, right? So negative infinity. Alright, so end behavior again. So you identify the leading term. In this case, 5 is the one with the highest degree, so that's the leading term. So it's a positive a with an odd degree. So this one's going to be down, up. Okay, so you say as x goes to infinity, f of x goes to infinity, it gets bigger, and as x gets smaller, negative infinity, f of x goes to negative infinity. Alright, they want you to find the real zeros and determine the multiplicity of each one. So whenever I come across, and I think I shared this with you in class, when I come across for a 4-termed polynomial to the third degree, or even if it's not, but if it's 4 terms, I check to see if it factors by grouping, and the way I group it is in a 2 by 2, and I place the terms in order, in standard form like that. Start with the first row, then continue with the next row, and I ask myself, what's the greatest common factor in the first row? That would be x squared. And then something times x squared is x cubed, so that would be x. Something times x squared is 5x squared, that would be 5. And then something times x is negative 4x, that would be negative 4. And then I always check, is negative 4 times 5 negative 20? If it's correct, then that means you factored it right. So what do these numbers mean, or these outside terms? So it's x squared minus 4 for the one here on the left, and then the one on the top, x plus 5. This is difference of squares, so this is x plus 2, x minus 2, and then just bring down the x plus 5. So the zeros would be plus or minus 2 and minus 5. The multiplicity of each is 1 for each one. Okay? Alright, so in 25, the greatest common factor is x squared, so I take that out first. I factor it out, and you're left with x squared plus 12x plus 27. Factors of 27 that add up to 12 are 9 and 3. So this would factor x plus 9 times x plus 3. And so the zeros are 0, negative 9, and negative 3. The multiplicity of these is 1. The multiplicity of the 0 is 2. So that tells you that the graph, if you graph this, the graph at x equals 0, the graph would bounce off, and at negative 9 and negative 3, it would cross. Alright, so we set this up for long division. So remember, you look at the leading term here and the leading term here. So you ask yourself, x squared times what gives you x to the fourth? And the answer for that would be x squared. Then you multiply the x squared by the divisor. So you're going to put x squared times x squared, that's x to the fourth, and then plus x cubed minus 4x squared. Now we subtract. Okay, let me change the color. So this is, when you subtract, you add the opposite. So this one becomes negative and this one becomes positive. Okay, so the pink is the changes because I am adding the opposite. That's what subtraction is. So then we get, let's see, negative x cubed, and then the x squared is gone, the 0x is gone. So all I have is minus, well, maybe I shouldn't even bring that down just yet. Okay. Okay, so now I'm looking at leading terms, right? So this one, again with this one. So x squared times what gives you negative x cubed? And the answer for that would be negative x. Oops, change it to black. And so you multiply negative x cubed minus x squared plus 4x. We're going to combine. So this gives me plus, because we're adding the opposite, and this is minus. So x squared plus 0 is x squared, and negative 4 plus 0 is negative 4. Now we bring down the negative 2. Okay, so x squared times what gives you x squared? That would be 1. So we multiply, and then we subtract. So when you subtract, you add the opposite. Okay, so combine, and so we get negative 4x minus x is negative 5x. Negative 2 plus 4 is positive 2. So the answer would be plus, this, add the remainder, so this here is the answer. Alright, so 27, they're asking you to use synthetic division to, it says use synthetic to divide the polynomial by x minus 4, and that's why we have a positive 4 here, because the a is positive, because it's the divisor. You have to think of it in terms of x minus a. So a is positive 4 in this case. And then these are the coefficients in standard form of the divisor of the dividend. Okay, what you're dividing right here. So bring down the 5. 5 times 4 is 20. Then this gives you 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Then you combine, you get negative 3. And negative 3 times 4 is negative 12, and you get 0. So what these numbers represent right here is 5x squared, oops, plus 2x minus 3. Okay, 28 is another synthetic division. You're dividing by x minus 3. So that's why you have a positive 3 inside here. Okay, and these are the coefficients in standard form. Now notice there's a 0 because there was no x squared term. So I had to put a placeholder of 0. So you bring down the 1. So 1 times 3 is 3. 3 plus 0, 3. 3 times 3, 9. Negative 27 plus 9 is negative 18. Negative 18 times 3 is negative 54, and we get 0. So these three numbers here mean x squared plus 3x minus 18. So that's the other factor. Alright, for 29, they say if x equals negative 4 is a root of the polynomial, find the other real zeros. So we're going to use synthetic division. Since they told you that negative 4 is a root, that means it's a 0. We'll use that one. So bring down the 1, you get negative 4, add, you get 1, negative 4, you add, you get negative 20, and then this gives you positive 80, which is 0. So these three numbers mean x squared plus x minus 20. So we're looking for factors of negative 20 that add up to positive 1. So that would be x plus 5 and x minus 4. So the other real zeros would be negative 5 and 4. Okay, so for 30 they tell you that radical 6 is a root. Now remember, if radical 6 is a root, negative radical 6 has to be a root. So keep that in mind, that we know that that's another 0. And it's going to come out right here in the synthetic division. Watch. We bring down the 1. 1 times radical 6 is radical 6. We add, we get 5 plus radical 6. So that's like one number right there in that column. Then we multiply the 5 plus radical 6. So just the rule is the same. We multiply this number, which is a binomial, by this number. So that's going to give me 5 radical 6 plus 6. That goes together with underneath the negative 6. So these two cancel, so I'm left with 5 radical 6. And 5 radical 6 times 6 is 30, because it's 5 times 6. And so you get 0. So these numbers here mean that it's x squared plus 5 plus radical 6x plus 5 radical 6. So we're looking for factors of 5 radical 6 that add up to 5 plus radical 6. Now notice 5 radical 6 radical 6. So we can easily break this down into x plus 5 times the quantity of x plus radical 6. And so the other zeros are negative 5 and negative radical 6. And so I feel confident with this answer because I knew ahead of time that if radical 6 was a 0, negative radical 6 had to be a 0. And see how it shows up over here? And that works. Alright, 31. It says if x minus 4 is a factor, so we're gonna try it out and see, because it says if. So we'll check it out by putting the 4 here and then using synthetic division. So I'm bringing down the 1. 4, 5 times 4, 20. And then this gives me 6 times 4, 24. Since we got a 0 here, then I know that yes, x minus 4 is a factor. And these three numbers mean x squared plus 5x plus 6. Factors of 6 that add up to 5 are 2 and 3. So x plus 2, x plus 3. So the other zeros are negative 2 and negative 3. Well, it's asking for all the real zeros, so let me add the 4 to the list from this up here. Okay, so for 32, we're going to use long division. And so remember, you take leading term with leading term and ask yourself, 4x times what gives you 4x cubed? And for that one, it's going to be x squared. So you multiply 4x cubed minus 3x squared. And so now we're going to subtract. So we're going to add the opposite. So there and there. Combine like terms, so you get 3 and 1 is 4. Bring down the next term. And again, continue to compare leading term with leading term. So 4x times what gives you 4x squared? So that would be x. So we multiply. We're going to subtract, so add the opposite. And so that leaves me with negative 48x, bring down the 36. And 4x times what gives you negative 48x? So that would be negative 12. So we multiply negative 48x plus 36.